Hello everyone. Let's co- Welcome to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. About me, I am Sandeep Bhushan. I have 8 years of teaching experience for civil services. I teach international relations, internal security, and in-depth analysis of Hindu editorials and articles. In regards to this video, it is how to crack prelims 2020. But prior to that, for the learners, it's to crack UPSC CSE, you have to subscribe India's largest learning platform, that is Unacademy. And once you get subscription, you will have access of unlimited live and recorded courses from India's best educators. You would also have other privileges once you subscribe, that is daily live classes, wherein you can chat with your educator, engage in discussions, ask doubts. You can also have live tests and quizzes wherein you can evaluate your preparation with our regular mock test and quizzes, and you would also get detailed analysis on your performance. And in regards to the structured courses, you have all our courses which are structured in line with UPSC exam syllabus, which will help you best prepare for the examination. You also have unlimited access. Upon subscription, you will get access to all our live and recorded courses either through your mobile or laptop. You also have top educators at Unacademy. They are Sudarshan Gurjar, Ayush Sanghi, Prakash Kumar and Runal Patel. You also have special classes by Dr. Roman Saini sir, Dr. Siddharth, Lokendra Chauhan, Rakesh Verma and Ashish Malik. You have the upcoming courses which are lined up on our Unacademy platform. They are capsule course on 250 multiple choice questions for UPSC Prelims. You have comprehensive course on public administration. You have capsule course on geography optional. You also have Let's Crack UPSC CSE 2021. And in regards to UPSC CSE subscription, you have 12-month subscription wherein the original price is 40,000. You also have 24 months wherein the original price is 52. But when you use my code SBT10, you will get additional discount on 12 months or upon 40,000, that is you have to pay rupees 36,000. And when you use my code SBT10 on 24 months subscription, you have to pay only 46,800. So it's always recommended the UPSC preparation has to be minimum of 1 year to 2 years, and anything which is for 2 years, a solid preparation has to be, and for that it is better to go ahead with subscribing 24 months, because you have an advantage here. By subscribing for 24 months, you will be paying only for the amount of 1 year plus 1 month. For 2 years, for 24 months, you would be paying for 1 year plus 1 month amount. That is, it is up to 46,800. So take the maximum benefit advantage and then do subscribe for 24 months, and then take the maximum benefit of my class. Not only my class, but also in regards to the other all top educators in varied subjects. You can have access to live and recorded classes. And in regards to our discussion, that is the Hindu in-depth analysis of editorials and articles of today's newspaper, we would discuss the topics, that is drastic and unusual, institutional framework, nature's caution and reorientation. So we will look at the first editorial, which says drastic but necessary. So what is that drastic things are going on, and wherein even though if it is drastic, why is it necessary? Why is it necessary that the drastic things are always welcomed at times? So we will look at it, and we all know that there is a Supreme Court verdict which has taken place in regards to the Manipur case. And in the Manipur case, the Supreme Court had given 4 weeks of time for the defected lawmakers which are pending since 2017, but the speaker failed to comply with it. So the Supreme Court in Manipur, that is in the Manipur Assembly, we have seen one of the lawmaker from one political party has defected to another political party, and when the issue is pending, that is in regards to the disqualification of the lawmaker is pending with the speaker, he has kept it to himself. So when it was approached to the Supreme Court, then the Supreme Court in the Manipur case has given a judgment saying that it would give 4 weeks of time to the speaker of the house to make sure that the one who is been defected has to be, the speaker has to comply with the decision of the Supreme Court within 4 weeks. And this was a landmark judgment in January, and it has put an end to all deliberate inaction of the presiding officer on petitions for disqualifying defectors. So we are aware that the kind of situation or the political instability which was happening in Madhya Pradesh and then in recent past in Karnataka, we have seen that the presiding officer or the speaker has the entire position that he can take about whether the defectors are disqualified or he will keep it to himself, he or she. So in by the Supreme Court verdict in the Manipur case in 2017, it has given 4 weeks time, but as it did not comply, as a speaker could not comply to the Supreme Court verdict in the month of January, it wanted to put an end to all this inaction of the presiding officer. And then the bench headed by Justice Rohit F. Nariman had ruled that courts have the power to fix a time frame for speakers. So it is not at the discretion of the speaker or the presiding officer that whether the lawmaker is under the disqualified or it falls, he or she falls under the anti-defection law. If there is any kind of the situation still pending, then the court can take a decision and it can rule the order to make sure that it has the power to fix a time frame. So here the judiciary is coming up with an action or the judgment wherein it wanted to go ahead with fixing a time frame for the speakers so that the lawmakers are not defecting, and thereby the government of the day doesn't fall because of not able to prove the majority in the house, that is the floor test, and then the voters who have voted for ex lawmakers have to abide or have to definitely follow or respect the voting pattern of the voters, and the electoral process have to be actually taken into consideration and it has to be respected. So in that regards, when it is not happening nowadays, so Justice F. Nariman has made it very clear that the court can fix the time frame. Then the speaker, when the speaker failed to comply with it, that is on March 4th, he has actually promised that he would take the decision whatever the Supreme Court has given the decision within 10 days. But still he hasn't gone ahead with any kind of action on the defected lawmaker in Manipur Assembly. So on March 18, he has again sought time to the Supreme Court. So this is again clearly mentioning that even though the Supreme Court has come up with the judgment or the verdict saying that it can fix a time frame for the speaker to take a decision on the anti-defection law on the lawmaker or the lawmakers who have defected from one political to the another political party, but instead the speaker or the presiding officer of the house, he is not complying to the orders, but still further he is delaying, and it is further delayed in such a way that there is a question mark whether even though the Supreme Court is invoking an extraordinary power, but still is it totally the anti-defection law or the defection of the lawyers are under the ambit of the speaker is a very big question mark. And then afterwards, later on, recently after March 18th, the Supreme Court has invoked its extraordinary power, that is Article 142 of the Constitution, saying that to take sort of measures that will kick in if the defector concerned had been disqualified. So again, even though the speaker was trying to postpone it or else bargain time from the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court could not take anything still further, and the Supreme Court has given a judgment saying that under Article 142 of the Indian Constitution, it can ask the speaker to take measures in regards to the defector or the one who has defected from one political party to another political party. So here again Article 142 is very important for prelims point of view, based on the kind of defections wherein we have seen recently in Madhya Pradesh 22 MLAs, and then again in Karnataka we have seen last year, that is 2019, and again in 2017 the Manipur case. We are actually following the case now, I mean the entire news now. So take into consideration of 2017 of Manipur, again 2019 of Karnataka, again 2020 of Madhya Pradesh, defection or the resignation, there is probability that there could be question or, I mean in the prelims based on the powers of the speaker, based on the powers of the governor, and then based on the what is flow test, and then also in regards to the anti-defection law. So we have to be, I mean you people as an aspirant, you have to be very clear that you need to understand the intricacies of the different keywords which are involved in the particular editorial or the niche item, which could be the probable question, not just reading it and then keeping it to yourself, but trying to identify the keywords which will be useful for the prelims. And this, that is the powers, extraordinary powers of the Supreme Court, that is Article 142, is also to be kept in mind that it could be possible question for prelims. And the Supreme Court has pointed out in January, that is 2007 precedent, that is the one which has actually taken place in 2007 in regards to the Rajendra Singh Rana. Again, this could be question wherein prelims you would be asking based on which previous Supreme Court judgments the Supreme Court has given a case or the verdict saying that it has introduced the Article 142, that is 2007, again in 2019 in regards to the Karnataka, and then in regards to again 2017 the Manipur, and then now what we are facing, that is in regards to the Madhya Pradesh. So the Supreme Court pointed out that the case which has been in regards to the Rajendra Singh Rana is available to show the failure to exercise jurisdiction is a stage at which court can intervene. So whenever there is any kind of situation wherein the Supreme Court is giving a judgment and it is not still exercised, or there is a failure to exercise the jurisdiction, then in that case the Supreme Court has the power or has the right to intervene. So this, the Supreme Court having the rights to intervene is actually derived from Rajendra Singh Rana's case of the Supreme Court verdict 2007. So again, preliminary point of view, please bear it in mind. And the next point is in regards to the Supreme Court's order. Now the recent one, in spite of repeated reminders to the presiding officer of Manipur, the speaker hasn't taken any action on the defected MLA of one political party shifting towards another political party. So now the Supreme Court has gone ahead with a judgment wherein it has stripped the Manipur minister of his office and it has barred him from entering into the state assembly. So the Supreme Court, by invoking Article 142, it has intervened in the functions or the powers of the speaker, and then it has barred the Manipur minister from entering into the state assembly. So this is very important, that how the Supreme Court has the power to intervene in the directions or the power of the speaker of the house. The possible objection to the order keeping the minister out are in regards to two reasons. One is that it goes beyond the court's power of judicial review. So one reason why the minister, Manipur minister, has been barred from entering into the state assembly is because of that courts or the house presiding officer did not go ahead with taking into action what the Supreme Court has given verdict. So it has gone beyond the court's power of judicial review. So because of that, the action has been taken by the Supreme Court, and that any intervention in a matter under 10th schedule of the Constitution can be made only after Speaker's final decision. So now the point here is whether it is right from the Supreme Court's point of view or the verdict that it has barred the minister from entering into the state assembly, that is Manipur, or else the matter in regards or taking into consideration of the 10th schedule of the Constitution, that is anti-defection law, it can be made only after the Speaker's final decision. So the ball is now whether it is the defection has to be considered, or the sole authority is the Speaker or the judicial review, that is the Supreme Court's verdict. Again, Prelims point of view, when he is asking in regards to statement 1, 2, 3, 4, so you have to be clear about the understanding of 10th schedule and then the article 142. So we will look at what is about anti-defection, because we have seen the defections happening Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka and Manipur if you look into our discussion. So 10th schedule was inserted in the Constitution in 1985 and which was referred as Anti-Defection Law, and it was inserted into the Constitution by 52nd Amendment Act 1985. So again, Prelims point of view, it was inserted by 52nd Amendment in 1985 and it is referred as Anti-Defection Law, and it lays down the process by which the legislators may be disqualified. So it lays down the process for disqualification of the legislatures, and the legislator can be disqualified based on the defection which is taken up by the presiding officer of the house, and the legislator is deemed to have defected if he either voluntarily takes up that he doesn't want to be the member of the political parties from which he has been elected, or when he has disobeyed the directives of the party leadership on a vote. So there are two instances wherein a legislator can be defected. One is voluntarily, the other one is when he disobeys, and the other one is about anti-defection. The anti-defection law implies that a legislator defying, that is, who is abstaining or voting against the political party or the government of the day in which party he is, there can be a whip issued by that political party so that he can lose the membership of the house. And once he loses the membership, then he is bound to be disqualified, and once he will be disqualified, the lawmaker will be disqualified by the Speaker's authority. So we have looked at the Manipur case, what has happened and how the Supreme Court has intervened, and then by invoking Article 142, and then again the court said that it can intervene by the Rajendra Singh Rana case of 2007, and then the state assembly minister, that is Manipur state assembly minister, has barred because the speaker hasn't gone ahead or he has gone beyond the court's judicial power, and whether the speaker can take decision based on the 10th schedule. And then about anti-defection law, 52nd amendment in 1985, and then there are two ways, that is either voluntarily or when the lawmaker disobeys. So for prelims point of view, we have thoroughly gone through the editorial, trying to take maximum benefit for the prelims point of view. And then we have also look at little bit in this, the paragraph 2 of the 10th schedule also talks about the grounds for disqualification, and then the article 101, 102, 190 and 191 were changed or were amended in the past. So which are the articles which were amended? 101, 102, 190 and 191. It pertains to the anti-defection, that is in regards to the 10th schedule. And in regards to the defection, the court has said that it is not that each and every single individual, if they are defecting, then it is up to the speakers that he or she can go ahead with disqualifying the individual, and then once he is disqualified, he or she, then the he or she, the lawmaker, has to go ahead with the election process once again. So later on there are two instances in case of defection, that the defection can take place that one political party into another political party. So when it is merger which is taking place by n number of political, I mean, lawmakers trying to change the shift from one political to another political party, so then it has to be minimum one third of the existing political party which is wanting to shift from one political party X to Y. So it was initially said that one third is enough, so that one third may not be possible for the political parties or the legislators to shift from one party to another party, but it has become a daily, I mean, a course of action which it was very easy for the lawmakers to shift, taking the entire one third, that is merging one political party into another political party. So later on again, by the 91st Amendment Act in the year 2003, it was changed from one third to two third. So it was increased from one third to two third, expecting that there would be, I mean, less of defection which could take place, and then the voters or the electoral process could be actually respected. But we have also seen that one third and then later on shifting it to the two third is also not really creating any kind of panic or obstacle to the legislators to defect from one political party, and then the mergers of one party into another party is also taking place at ease to the political parties. So now at this junction, it is very important that whether the parliament should consider creating a new mechanism. This is very important. So now it is very important, from one third to one two third they have amended it, they have increased it, but still it is still continuing, the defection or the merger of the political parties is continuing. So the conclusion is whether the parliament has to consider creating a new mechanism to replace the speaker as the adjudicating authority under the 10th schedule. So if this is asked in the mains, so you are able to answer the question, because we have looked into the various Supreme Court verdicts right from 2007, again 2014, how Manipur case was actually dealt and how the speaker was trying to delay by going ahead with the delaying tactics. So in that regards, whether it is need of the hour to replace the speaker as the adjudicating authority under the 10th schedule. So there is a possibility that there could be a question in the GS2 asking this question and then could say discuss. So we have discussed in regards to the prelims, and we have also discussed in regards to the mains point of view. And you have an article which talks about Human Rights Commission, So what is the author talking about, or what does he wants to emphasize? So he wants to emphasize that Human Rights Commission should have more teeth. That is, the meaning of it is having more powers. So the author feels that depending upon the kind of Human Rights Commission is actually being processed, or it is actually being functioning, so he feels that Human Rights Commission has to be given more of powers. So we will look at what are the reasons that they should be giving Human Rights Commission more teeth or more powers. What is actually Human Rights Commission, how it has actually come into existence, and then what are the other constitutional bodies, and then how the government has to make sure that is the state governments or else even the central governments, they have to abide by the recommendations given by the Human Rights Commission, whether it is state government or central government, and whether the state government is bound to go ahead with the recommendations or to follow the recommendations of the State Human Rights Commission or the National Human Rights Commission. So we will look into all that, we will discuss all those, and then we will look at the heading as institutional framework. So we know that it is the democracy through which distribution of power has been taken place, or distribution of power is because of the democracy what we have today in India, in our country. And then the distribution of power takes place through three branches, that is the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. So it's very clear the legislative, executive and judiciary are the one which are the pillars of the democracy. So they three together can work independently. At the same time, they also have check on each one of them, so that there is balance between the three branches of our Indian democracy. That means none of the branch try to exhibit more power and prevail over other branch. So in turn, the Constitution of India has given the authority to all the three equally, so that there is check on the either one and there is balance in the entire three branches. And then in regards to the complexity of the governance and administration, because of the complexity and of governance and administration, that means there is complexity in governance and administration in the modern world. So thereby there is a necessity that the existence of set of independent bodies which are charged with performing vital functions or oversight. So what is that in the point is, as there is lot of chaos or not accordingly the governance and the administration is functioning in the modern world, and that too you have a set of constitutional bodies and the independent bodies which are in the democratic countries, but still they are not performing as per they should be performing. So we will look at what or why they are not functioning and what are the reasons the independent or the constitutional bodies are not performing up to their limits. So prior to that, we will look at what is Human Rights Commission or about Human Rights Commission. So in 1993, the Indian Parliament has enacted the Protection of Human Rights Act. The purpose of Act was to establish an institutional framework that could effectively protect, promote and fulfill the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. So, the Human Rights Commission or the Human Rights Act is very clear that it wanted to establish an institutional framework wherein through this institutional framework the fundamental rights are fulfilled, and the fundamental rights which are guaranteed by the Indian Constitution are protected in such a way that each and every individual's fundamental rights are protected. So for prelims point of view, 1993 Indian Parliament is the one which has the power to enact it, that is the Protection of Human Rights Act. And the Protection of Human Rights Act created a National Human Rights Commission. So how did the National Human Rights Commission come into existence, or who has created the National Human Rights Commission? That is the Protection of Human Rights Act has created National Human Rights Commission. For prelims point of view, again make it, have a little bit a clear understanding about it. And also Human Rights Commission, that is at the state and also at the central level. And then Human Rights Commission are bodies that stand between the individual and the states. So it is the one which is the Human Rights Commission acts as a mediator or the facilitator between the individual, that is the citizens, and then the state. And then its task is to make sure that it ensures adequate realization of constitutional commitment for protecting human rights. So ultimately, the task of the Human Rights Commission is to make sure that it goes ahead with protecting the human rights. And then Human Rights Commission also has the powers of a civil court. So you can take into consideration that the Human Rights Commission works, or it has powers same as equivalent as civil court, and the proceedings before it are deemed to be judicial proceedings. That means as it has the powers of a civil court, so all the proceedings will also be considered as judicial proceedings which are being taken up in the Human Rights Commission, and they are also treated as quasi judicial, which when I say it is quasi judicial, that means the proceedings which are taken up in the court as a quasi judicial will be binding upon the state. So it's very clear, whatever the proceedings or the judgments by the Human Rights Commission are binding upon the state. So again here, prelims point of view, we are trying to understand better how the Human Rights Commission is a civil court, and its proceedings are judicial proceedings, and it is treated as a quasi judicial, and wherein it is the proceedings are binding on the state. And also the Human Rights Commissions are empowered to inquire into the violation of human rights. It has powers to inquire into the violation of human rights which are committed by state authorities itself. So it is not just the proceedings are binding on the state, but it also has the power to inquire into the violations of human rights which are committed by the state authorities. So there is a section 18. This section 18 of Human Rights or the Protection of Human Rights Act further empowers the Human Rights Commission. So what does Human Rights Commission is empowered by the protection of human rights by section 18 is the word to recommend to the concerned government to grant compensation to the victim, or it can recommend to the government to initiate prosecution against the state authorities who are not performing the job or the duties, and it can also grant interim relief. So again, from prelims point of view, section 18. So section 18 talks about the protection of the human rights, that is wherein the Human Rights Commission can recommend. This is very important, recommend. So which among the following section of the Human Rights Commission talks about the word, or it refers to the word recommend? So section 16, 17, 18, so it is 18, or else this could be one of the statement in the question upon Human Rights Commission. And section 18 also, it compels the government, which is the concerned government, to forward its comments on the report, that is including the action taken on the proposed to be taken thereon. That means whatever has been the recommendations have been made by the Human Rights Commission, as per section 18, it also asks the government to forward its comments, what it has done on the recommendations of the Human Rights Commission, that too in a stipulated period, that is within 1 month. And now we will look at the fourth branch institution. So what is this fourth branch institution? Because we have seen three branches, that is the legislative, executive, and then we have the judiciary. So when we have these three, legislative, executive and judiciary, so now we will come to the third, or the fourth branch, that is the National and State Human Rights Commission. So these National and State Human Rights Commissions are considered, or they are the fourth branch institution. And along with the National and State Human Rights Commission, you have the Election Commission, you have the Comptroller and Auditor General, you have Information Commission, you have Right to Information Act, and you also have Human Rights Commission, under the Protection of Human Rights Act. So these all are the constitutional bodies. So these are all constitutional bodies which are established by the Constitution of India. So along with the three, we also have these constitutional bodies which could be part of the fourth branch institutions, wherein now the question mark is that all these constitutional bodies or the fourth branch institutions, are they becoming the puppets of the government of the day, or else whatever is been the proceedings or recommendation made by the following constitutional bodies or the fourth branch institutions, are really the recommendations being accepted by the or followed or implemented by the state and the central government, is a big question mark. And then how far or how best we can try to make sure that there is revival of the constitutional institutions or the constitutional bodies, that is in specific in our discussion fourth branch institutions. And in determining the powers of the autonomous bodies, that is in regards to the Human Rights Commission, the role of fourth branch institutions are very significant. So we have to have these fourth branch institutions which have to be empowered in such a way that there is significance of these constitutional bodies, thereby the citizens' rights are protected. Now based on this Human Rights Commission, we will look at the pending cases. So there is a pending case before the Madras High Court which will be deciding upon the word or the keyword recommendation, because in the previous I was talking about section 18, which I was emphasizing that it could be the part of preliminary practice session which could be important for prelims 2020. Here section 18 talks about recommend. So this word recommend or the importance of the word recommend is actually a pending case before a full bench of the Madras High Court, and the full bench of Madras High Court would be deciding upon what does actually the recommendation word means, which is or which will be made or which will be made by Human Rights Commission, because these recommendations are what? They are binding. They are binding upon the respective state and the central government as per section 18 of the Human Rights Commission. So as per the section 18 of the Human Rights Commission, the recommendations given by the Human Rights Commission are binding upon the respective state, or whether the government is entitled to reject or take no action. Now the Madras High Court will decide whether section 18, in the section 18 the word recommendation, is it binding on the state and central government, or it is not binding and then it is just a recommendation, and then it is up to the state or the central government to decide to accept or to reject it. So this is very important for prelims point of view, the one which is pending in the Madras High Court. And the full bench of the Madras High Court is hearing the case because there were previously different or smaller benches has come up to opposite conclusion. That is opposite conclusion in the sense, yes it is binding, or no it is not binding. Just it is what you say, it is in recommendations given, and they can either take it or whether the state governments can accept it or reject it. So there were different opinions by various judge of the Madras High Court. And then we will look at the recent judgment which has taken place, which also looks at the keyword mentioned in the articles. So there was an incident wherein the Supreme Court also was overriding imperative of maintaining judicial independence mandates, that wherein the issue was in regards to the word consultation. So it has made it very clear that the word consultation can be read as concurrence of the Chief Justice. So here the word consultation, actually it was brought to the notice of Supreme Court whether consultation means what. So here the consultation means, the Supreme Court has said that it means it can be considered as concurrence in regards to the or else the Chief Justice of India, that is when the case is in regards to the collegium system or the based on the collegium system. So there was earlier one which we have discussed is in regards to the word recommendation, and the other one is consultation. So the Supreme Court has also given an interpretation of the recommendation, word recommendation, the word consultation, and it has also come up with the latest interpreting of the word called and in the recent Land Acquisition Act. So it also said that it can be construed as and can be construed as or, and can be construed as or. So if we look at the other one, wherein the Supreme Court has also made a statement, that is the verdict, saying that the word or interpreting the word opinions rendered by the foreigners tribunal, that is in Assam in regards to the NRC, says that these are opinions which were binding, So one is in regards to the recommendations made by the Human Rights Commission, whether they are binding on the state government, one there, and the other Supreme Court verdicts was the in regards to the opinions rendered by the foreigners tribunal in Assam in regards to the NRC. It says that these opinions are binding. So here we are focused on not just in regards to the Human Rights Commission, what the word recommendation or how the word recommendation can be interpreted, and that is the case which is pending with the Madras High Court, whether it is binding or whether it can be rejected by the state government. And along with the word recommendation, we have also looked at the interpretation of the other words, that is consultation and the word and the word opinion. So interpretation of recommendation, how it can be done, interpretation of the word consultation, interpretation of the word and the interpretation of opinion. So this is an elaborate understanding what I am trying to impart to you all, that you will have a wider knowledge or in-depth knowledge about a one particular issue, wherein if it is asked in prelims you will be able to clear it, you would definitely score marks there, or else in case if it is asked in the mains also, you can write an answer with not at all having any itch, and you can write an answer with ease of based on this entire explanation. And then you have challenges also. We will look at the challenges about the Human Rights Commission. So the challenges are in regards to the functioning of the Human Rights Commission. Functioning of the Human Rights Commissions have come under the scrutiny and they are being criticized. There is criticism and it has come under the scrutiny. That means it is that the Human Rights Commission is politicization of the Human Rights Commission is also taking place, and then Human Rights Commission is also at times being selective. So there is a challenge to the Human Rights Commission that it is under scrutiny, it is being criticized because it is part of the politicization of the autonomous bodies and it is becoming or being selectiveness. And then the Human Rights Commission, the other challenge is it is toothless, that is it is not empowered with power to recommend to the state government that those recommendations by the Human Rights Commission would be binding on the state government. So they are toothless and they are playing only as an advisory role, with the government left free to disobey the recommendations of the Human Rights Commission. So we have looked at what is Human Rights Commission, which will be useful for the prelims point of view. You can go through it once again. And we also have looked at specifically about section 18, wherein the case is pending in the Madras High Court about the word recommend. And then we have looked at the fourth branch institutions, and we also looked at the previous pending cases Madras Court, and then also in regards to the word recommendation, how it can be interpreted along with the word recommendation. We have looked at the consultation, word consultation, the word and the word opinion, and we have looked at also the challenges. So we will conclude this by a statement: in a democracy, the crucial role played by a human rights commission, the crucial role played by a human rights commission and the requirement of the state accountability are committed to a culture of justification. It looks simple, but it holds lot of meaning in this statement. In these two lines, it holds lot of meaning. So this could be a probable question in the mains. It could be: in a democracy, I repeat once again, in a democracy, the crucial role played by a human rights commission and the requirement of the state accountability, the both are committed to a culture of justification. So you can write this answer if it is discuss or comment based on our discussion. Along with that, where if you can try to find out more points, you can add and then write the answer. So we have discussed at length in regards to the prelims and also in regards to the mains point of view. Now we will look at the other article, which is again in regards to the COVID-19, which talks about the nature. It is emphasizing about nature. And the article is trying to enlighten us that what nature is telling us. What nature is telling us. And then we have to understand why nature is telling us, in what means the nature is telling us, in what means or by what means the nature is giving a precautionary measures to us, that we should not be aloof, but we should all be together. We should not fight amongst each other, but we should all be together, and then we should work together, share together. We should not be independent, even though we are all independent countries and sovereign countries. We have to still be interdependence. That means there has to be interdependence. In spite of independence, there has to be interdependence. And why all this necessary is because the situation is so that the nature is giving a precautionary measures, telling us that don't move apart, come together, work as one for a common goal. And what is the common goal? That the entire countries or the humankind has to come together and work, that is work for the healthier planet. So we have to work for the healthier planet, and to make sure that the planet is healthier, it is the nature which is actually giving a precautionary measure or cautioning us that it is high time that you all humans come together, or else humankind will perish. So now we will look at the topic, which is nature's caution. In this, we will definitely go ahead with a better understanding about the reasons, and then how it will be useful for the prelims and also for the mains point of view. If there is a question asked based or comparing with the COVID-19, that is the pandemic, comparing pandemic with the kind of situation which has to be brought in, that we are protecting the mother earth or saving the mother earth. So pandemic versus planet. I hope you are getting my point. Pandemic versus planet. So you never know, two different topics, but you as a civil servant aspirant, when you're very serious in regards to the civil services preparation, that is prelims or mains or both, your understanding of two different issues in isolation have to be brought together and then linked together to form a, what do you say, a better or a complete new identity, that is a new answer. So if you are having this kind of approach, then it is very clear that from each and every article you will be picking for prelims point of view important points and also for mains point of view. So thereby my discussion of the class would be based on this. So we will go ahead in regards to this, wherein our ancestors have looked at nature as a mother. Our ancestors have looked at nature as a mother and they have respected it. That is why our ancestors were very healthy. They were so healthy that they did try to give many, what do you say, tips and measures to us, that to the next forthcoming generation, that we have to respect Mother Earth. Thereby you will be healthy. When you are healthy, that is humankind, then obviously the planet would be healthy. But the situation is going something haphazard manner or backward manner. That is, we are not really protecting or respecting the Mother Earth. What is happening at this time is that it is moving backward. And when it is moving backward, it is a time for everyone to pause and then wonder where we are heading towards. Why are we losing the focus? And how we can come back. And how we can come back. And we can come back or we can be safe only when we take care of the safety of others. That means we have or we can protect our planet, Mother Earth, only when we are aware that we have to make sure that we take care or we are for the safety of our fellow beings or for the others. When we are thinking about the fellow beings' safety, that is the human beings, the entire human beings, not only human beings but also in regards to the plants and animals. So all the species have to be taken care and they have to be protected, they have to feel safety. Only then the nature is safe, the mother is safe, the Mother Earth is safe. So taking into consideration of this introduction, we will look at further and we will look at what has happened in 1896, taking example of Mahatma Gandhi ji. When he was visiting India, there was a plague which has broke in Bombay, then Bombay, and he has taken up and the challenge, and he wanted or he has volunteered to offer services to the entire area where it was the plague has broken, and there he has inspected the toilets and also insisted people to go ahead with cleanliness. So what is important is here that we can go ahead with caring ourselves and then protecting or talking about safety of others only when we have a concept called as cleanliness. This we did try to take the example of Mahatma Gandhi ji, which he has made, that he has gone ahead with trying to offer the service in 1896, and then later on, now in independent India, now the government of the day is also focusing on cleanliness, and then the government has come up with Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, that is Mission Clean India. And this is the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is in regards to making sure that there is social awakening. And then when we are talking about the social awakening, it is definitely in regards to the personal and social hygiene. It is in regards to the personal and social hygiene. So the cleanliness what was emphasized by Mahatma Gandhi ji, and then again this Swachh Bharat Abhiyan by our Prime Minister, that is Mr. Narendra Modi ji, wherein focusing on the social awakening and then about personal and social hygiene. These will definitely make sure that we will protect our mother earth, and these are very essential imperative to protect our mother earth. And then respect for nature is a need of the hour, because humankinds are craving to control nature, and in the process of what you say controlling the nature, they are exploiting all the resources. Why they are exploiting? Because for the profit they are exploiting, and in the process of exploiting we are actually wiping out all the resources what are with the mother earth in the nature. So when we are trying to explore, wipe it out, what can happen is that because of the profits we are trying to slowly make sure that the natural resources are depleted. So when we are depleting the natural resources and exploiting it, so what can happen is that is it can be wiped out. That is, entire natural resources of the humankind itself can be wiped out by a stroke of a microorganism. So when we are talking about the stroke of a microorganism, yes, the kind of situation what the entire world is facing or experiencing, that is the coronavirus. So it is important that we have to protect the humans, protect ourselves, and then we should not exploit it. And then we should respect the nature. The other one is equality is very important. But equality has become a factorless, deceptive, or a superficial one. But what nature tells us is that we are all equal. In spite of the nature telling us that we are all equal, there is no equality before everyone, or we are not maintaining equality. So that is also a cause of concern, that we are wrong, but it will definitely wipe out the entire mankind. So when it is wiping out the entire mankind, so what is important is we are talking about one identity, that the identity that is human being. So when we are talking about human being, so it is very important that the nature what it wants to tell us is that you protect, or you make sure that you're all together, you're not independent, you're all interdependent, and then do not fight and respect each other, and make sure that you protect yourself and then protect the mother earth. What are the measures in regards to the new virus which has actually come up, that is COVID-19, which can wipe out the mankind, and it has become very virulent, we have seen. So what are the measures in regards to that is, as we all are going ahead with the preventive measures, that is the isolation and self-imposed or medically mandated, and then making sure that we always follow the basic hygiene and then social distancing. So basic hygiene and social distancing is very important. Along with that, we have to make sure that the sanitation and cleanliness are amongst the humble civic virtues. So the civic virtues at this moment are very essential to protect the virus not to spread virulent, and take the preventive measures so that even civic virtues come into action. And then every citizen should have the responsibility or the contribution of raising awareness, that is educating people that they should not fear, or they should not panic, or they should not go ahead with what you say mass gathering, but rather they should refrain from spreading fake news, or the trying to spread the panicness, or spread the hit the panic button, but rather we should make sure that we educate everyone, making sure that there has to be a social distancing. So along with the government, it is a responsibility of every citizen to raise awareness. And then we will conclude this, at the conclusion of this article, that the nature is telling us to come together, that is, rather than being independent, let there be what you say interdependence. And nature is reminding us to acknowledge with humility our quintessential, that is explanatory equality or interdependence. It is a lesson which is been imparted at a heavy price. That means after losing so many lives in regards to the SARS, in regards to the Nipah virus, in regards to H1N1, in regards to H1N5, and now in regards to the COVID-19. In spite of all this heavy price, Even now, if you are not heeding to the loss of the lives or the human beings or the humankind, then it is very difficult, and we have to still further pay heavy price. But it is enough that we have paid heavy price, and then we have to get into the equality and interdependence mode, and then make sure that we all come together, and then we restrict the pandemic at least now. And then once we come together and restrict the pandemic, then we can make sure that we all, I mean, this situation or this experience will come handy to mitigate the global challenge. So the greatest global challenge which is in front of the entire world countries or the entire citizens of the world is the climate change. So the pandemic will definitely make sure that we can also come together and challenge the climate change, and then we can build a better and common future for the mankind. So again, this could be a very good mains questions point of view. And then there could be other one, that is the coronavirus, that is the global challenge. So coronavirus is a global challenge, underscores the necessity for action in absence of crisis. I repeat once again, I seriously think that you have understood or not, but I would explain it once again. The global challenge, that is the coronavirus global challenge, underscores. What does this underscores means? It highlights. It highlights the necessity for action. It highlights the necessity for action in absence of crisis. So, what is important is that it is not that whenever there is crisis, we have to come together and then we have to take an action. No. What the global challenge, that is the pandemic, that is the coronavirus COVID-19 has taught us is that we have to take action together. Action. Interdependence has to be between all the countries to make sure that we take action. And then we are taking action in the absence of any crisis. It is not that only when we have crisis then the world is coming together, all the countries are coming together. No, it is, we have to take action. It has to be a coordinated global action to the global challenge when the challenge or when the crisis is not at all there. That means we have to be well prepared for all the challenges. So that is very important how you understand this. So this could be, again, this kind of what you say statement could be part of your mains examination question paper, and then it would say discuss. So we have looked at the prelims point of view and also mains point of view, a better understanding, so that your thinking capacity through these lectures will definitely increase. It will widen. It will make sure that you have an in-depth analysis looking into different areas. And the next one is need for reorientation. So what is the need for reorientation? So here the reorientation the author is talking about in the university levels, that is in the state universities. There is a concern even in the central universities, but when you compare it with the central universities with the state universities, there is a lot which has to be done. There is a lot which has to be progressed, or which has to be taken care with a proper positive mindset for the development of the state universities. So to develop the state universities, or to make sure that the standards of the state universities are increased, so there is a need for reorientation. So the need for reorientation is for the standards of the state universities to be raised. So we will look at it. As per the higher education institutions, there are around 1,000 educational institutions or higher educational institutions, and which authorize or it awards degrees, and out of this 1,000 there are 400 state public universities that provides almost 90% of our graduates, and they contribute to about one third of the research publication. So again, this is a little important for your prelims point of view, whatever statistics or the data I am trying to mention, wherein again in the due course of this explanation it would be useful for the mains point of view also. So we all are evident, I mean we all are experienced that, and it is evident that there that the state universities are performing poor. Their employment, you have poor employment, you have poor quality, and then when you look at, when we are talking about this poor quality, it is in regards to the publications. So when we are looking at the, or when we have seen the experiences of the state universities are the one which are all, to be frank enough to, we can say it or mention that they are in negative. So what is happening is there is negligence presence in the national level policy or the decision making bodies, and then this poor track record in receiving national awards, and then poor share in research funding. So these are the reasons why the standards of the state universities are not up to the mark, or else the standard of the state universities are not been raised, as we have, as I have mentioned these reasons. So because of these reasons there is a need for reorientation of the state universities. So we will look at the challenges, what the state universities face, and why the reason the state university standards are low. We have seen many a times there are government or political interference in the management of the universities. Along with the political interference, we have also seen that there is lack of autonomy. Along with the lack of autonomy, we know that there is corruption, there is poor governance structure in place, and we see the quality of the teachers are also poor, and whatever the curricula which are in the state university are all outdated. We are not updating the university level curricula with the international standards or the central university standards. So it is a cause of concern and it's a challenge for the reason why the standard of the state universities are very minimal. And we have also seen the plagiarism, which is also a cause of concern, because when they are publishing, there is lot of cut copy paste which is happening, and through that you are not getting the quality of the research scholars, because plagiarism is at a very high. And you also have poor infrastructure, and the facilities are also very low. And if we look at the state universities are overcrowded, and they are also been having the affiliation system, wherein you have all these evils with the poor linkages with alumni and industry. So there is no proper linkage with the alumni and also with the industries. So these are the reasons why the standard of the state universities are very low. And then we are also looking at what are the other challenge, that is in regards to there is a lack of proper diagnosis. So whenever there is a problem in the state universities, it is not diagnosed properly. The problem is not diagnosed properly, and thereby what it happens is, what is a further falls into is it is led to fragmented and ineffective approaches. Sorry, because the problem is not diagnosed, it is not diagnosed at the right time, so it leads to fragmented and ineffective approaches, and this is the reason why the performance of the state universities are low, and the players do not feel compelled. So the state level players, that is in regards to the lawmakers or the state government authorities, do not feel that they are compelled to back the state university system. So there is definitely a gap between the state university system and the state level players. So there is a need of the hour. The gap between the state university system and the state level players has to be bridged, has to be, what do you say, made sure that it comes together so that they understand better the importance of each other, the importance of each other, that when they work in tandem, both will be mutually benefited. So this is what is important, that both the state university system and the state level players have to have, or they need to know their commitments and their interest and value, that how best it will be useful for the next generation. And there is no consensus and contract between the state universities and the state level players, that is the political parties. So when there is lacking of consensus and contract, definitely we know that the gap will further widen between both of them, and it will lead to more of the substandard of the state university outcome. And what are the measures what the state universities are facing are that the state university should commit to delivering lots more to the state and its people. So it is very important that the state university's job is not just, what you say, go ahead with the academics, but it has the responsibility to deliver to the state, that is its to its people where the university is located. And the second one is, it must come up with a new vision and programs, especially when they are addressing the needs of the state, and when they are addressing the needs of the industry and also the economy and the society. So why we are talking about this measure especially is important, because it is the need of the hour for the state universities to take into consideration that the university, in whichever state it is, it has to feel that all the people, the citizens of the particular state, will be protected, and they will come up with a new vision and programs so that the industry in the particular state, the economy and the society and the people will be benefited. So it is the what do you say, responsibility of the state universities to come up with a new vision and program. So that once they come up with a new vision and the program, what will happen is the gap between the state universities and the state level political parties would would be put in such a way that the distance is lessened, and then they come together. And then they should also establish a contract between what we spoke about, state universities and the state system, so that so that the way the existing central institutions and the central government works, so it is happening at the national level, but it is not happening at the state level. That is in regards to the state system, political system and state university. That is why there is a need for reorientation at the state universities. So the reorientation is, especially in our discussion, is between the state university system and the state level political system. So they both have to come together, both have to understand the responsibilities, both have to understand that what kind of contribution they would make to the people, the society, the industry and to the economy of the state. And then we would conclude it by saying that the initiative to start a larger dialogue on the future of a state universities would have to be taken primarily by the academic community. What is the need of the hour is the state university's future or the state university's performance has to be raised, and it has to be reoriented. And this reorientation, it takes, or it can be taken up by a dialogue or a larger dialogue, and this dialogue can take place primarily by the academic community. So this is the one which is or which should take a primary responsibility to make sure that the state universities are moving ahead, up the ladder, up the rank, not only in the country but across the world. The future of our state universities are shouldered on the academic community of the universities. So I have framed this, that is, if there could be a question in the general essay itself in regards to the education, and if there is a question on the discussion what we have made, and if there is a question like this, that is in regards to the state universities. So the future of the state universities are shouldered on the academic community of the universities comment. So you have a question, you can write an answer even for this, which will be a better answer for the mains, that is general essay. So I feel the in-depth analysis of the Hindu editorial and article was informative, knowledgeable, and it was useful for the prelims point of view and also for the mains point of view. So please do like and subscribe, and then hit the bell button for further notification when you are watching the YouTube channel, that is Let's Crack UPSC CSE English. And then do not forget to subscribe the Unacademy. And while you subscribe, please do use my code SBT10, that is Sandeep Bhushan Thummala 10, to attain or to get 10% discount. Thank you and see you in next video, that is tomorrow 7 p.m.